This example demonstrates how to batch or consolidate entities in a system. In this example, we have a disk going through a couple different activities, and it gets to this third activity, which is a special type of an activity we call a buffer. If you right-click on it, you can see it's a buffer, and if I select properties on here, it will show me my buffer properties. It has infinite capacity, and the batching rule right now is defined as none. We want to change this to say, yes, we do want to batch, and we will batch them into groups of 20. So every 20 disks that then accumulate here at the buffer will be batched together, and they will continue on just through a routing, 100% routing, out to shipping, and then out to exit. You may also note that when we're batching here in the buffer, we can choose to batch by entity type. This would apply if we had a mixed model line. So we might have disk type A, disk type B, disk type C. If we select the by entity type, we can choose the entity name and the quantity that we want to batch for that particular entity. So we might batch 10 of this type of entity, and if we had another type of entity, we might say that one will have a batch size of 5. So this gives us a little more advanced flexibility in our batching. You can delete these rows by hitting the delete key on your keyboard and turning it back off. Now if I run this, we'll be able to see the entities coming through here, and they will accumulate, and once we get up to 20, then the disks go on to shipping. You will notice that because they've been combined into this batch, that each 20 that exit represent one total exit. So you get a batch of 20 going here, and then that's treated as one single entity as it goes out to subsequent steps. If we had a more complex system, we could actually unbatch, and then they would maintain their individual entity counts from within the batch. But in this case, we batched them and then routed them to exit as one batch. An alternative way of doing this is here at the collector, instead of having it be a buffer, I could select activity, and then when I look at the properties for this element, we'll see I have all of my activity properties that I have for the other elements, and I still have my batching option here, so I could just come in and say I want to batch after the activity and say a batch size of 20, and I could have the same effect, but I would probably want to make my process time 0. And when you're batching in an activity, you need to make sure you have capacity at either the in buffer or the out buffer, which is where the batching will take place. So if I have my batching after the activity, then I would need to make sure I had an out buffer capacity great enough to hold that entire batch. And that's an example of how we batch in Process Simulator.